Hello, welcome to Lil's Vintage World. This video is going to be one of my rom-com book reviews where I take a bunch of romantic comedy, fiction comedy books and just drop them and review them for you. I'm in a bit of a different space today because I'm just on my sofa. I'm not feeling 100%. I'm getting over a bit of a cold and yeah, I'm very tired. Third trimester of pregnancy now, and yeah, I am very much feeling it. So I've got myself a big old drink and just going to talk about these books because I'm reading so many of these books in this genre at the moment. So I thought I'll talk you through them. Right, as usual, I'm going to lead up to my favourite. So starting with this book. This is the In Honeymooners by Christina Lauren. This book starts with a wedding where practically everybody ends up getting sick at this wedding, including the bride and groom. And the bride, her twin sister, Olive, is our main character. And her twin sister, when getting sick, she turns to her sister and she's just like, take the holiday, take the honeymoon, just go. But she has to go with this other bloke that's part of the wedding party that she just really doesn't get on with at all. But you can kind of guess what happens on said honeymoon. Well, was a honeymoon just a holiday for them? It is that kind of typical enemies to lovers type story. Now, I was really looking forward to reading this book for two reasons. One, the authors. This book is by Christina Lauren, which is a writing duo. One is called Christina, the other is called Lauren. Genius. And I have heard great things about their books. They've written a lot of books in this genre and been so successful. I was also really looking forward to this book for the second reason, that is this particular book that I've heard so many rave reviews about. So many people that I've heard have said how much they've enjoyed it, and I was just hoping that I was going to be one of them, but sadly this book just isn't quite for me. I didn't connect with the characters in the way that I was hoping I would. I didn't like any of the blokes, which I think is okay. I don't think you're necessarily meant to like them, but the girls I didn't attach to either. So no. The writing was a bit cringy for me. I think writing in this genre can be a little bit cringy, but this did feel a bit too cringy in a way. Like it kind of stepped over the mark. And I think the humour, although I could see the humour was there, it just wasn't my type of humour. I'm very aware that this is very much, I suppose, for an American type audience. And I'm very British in humour, and I think perhaps that's probably why I didn't connect to it humour-wise as I was hoping to. Excuse me. So yeah, I can see why people love this. I can see why people give it 5 stars. It's just not for me, but that's fine. The next book that I have to share with you is I Heart Hollywood by Lindsey Kelk. This is the first of 2 books to feature one of Lindsey Kelk's works on this list, so stay tuned. I Heart Hollywood is the second book in the I Heart series by Lindsey Kelk, and in this book we see Angela again. So in the first book we meet Angela and she leaves Great Britain after finding her partner cheating on her, and she up sticks and goes to New York, where she settles in, new job, new place to live, new friends. And the first one is her really like finding her feet, so to speak, whereas this second one, she is sent on a job to interview someone for work, and I just didn't quite gel with this one as much as I did the first one, which I think is I think it's quite normal, and I think it's absolutely fine for series to not necessarily rate every single book in the series really, really highly. I think that's fine. Yeah, this one for me, it wasn't quite as good as the first one in my eyes. I think for a couple of reasons. Okay, one, I'm not really an American-y type person. Like if I was to go to America, the place that I'd want to go to visit, other than like Disney, is New York, and of course that's the first book. And in this one, she's quite down about going to LA as well. Like, there's not that positivity that there is around New York necessarily. So yeah. But also, this book is part of a series, and I own quite a few books in the series, and the next one's I Heart Paris, and I'm really looking forward to reading that one. And I think perhaps I'm just looking to the future a bit too much. But there was some stuff in this that I did really, really like, some stuff in particular that kind of carried on from the first book. For instance, the discussion of fashion I loved in the first book, and they continue in this one, which was great. Also, the character of Alex I really like in this one as well. So yeah, there's some stuff that I really enjoyed, but just not as strong for me as the first one. But I'm really looking forward to the next book in the series. Next we have What Fresh Hell by Lucy Vine. This book is about a woman called Delilah, known as Lila to her friends, or Deli to some, but that's not a nice nickname, but if you read the book you'll find out why. And she spends pretty much, whenever wedding season rolls around, she spends her time either helping to plan and organise things to do with weddings or hen-dos, or she is attending hen-dos, she is attending weddings, and that is how her weekends are generally spent. And it's detrimental to her relationship with her boyfriend, because that's how they're spending their time, even though he's not that keen. But also, they had this kind of agreement that they were going to save and go travelling, and she hasn't been doing that because she's been putting the money for travelling towards wedding presents, or paying to go abroad for hen-dos and things. And that is essentially what this book is about. So I didn't think I'd like this going into it, which probably sounds a bit strange, but I read 7 X's and To Date with Destiny by Lucy Vine, and when I read those, I just knew I needed to read everything that Lucy Vine has ever written. Her comedy just speaks to me and just makes me happy, so I'm ready to read her backlist, essentially. This is one of them, and this is one that, when I read the synopsis, I was like, I don't think I'm going to like this. Turns out Lucy Vine could write about a brick wall and I'd probably enjoy it, because there was some moments in this that I really, really did laugh. And yeah, I had a smile on my face while reading this, even though it's not my thing. And the reason why it's not my thing is just because I'm not a wedding person. I mean, I've had a wedding, I am married. Even though I'm not, if you're wondering where my wedding ring is, this is just a different ring. I've taken it off. Pregnancy, swelling. Yeah, our wedding was quite different, and not the usual, and I do my best that I can to avoid going to weddings in a nice way, not in a nasty way. It's just not my thing. So for that, I just didn't think I'd connect to this book and connect to the main character, but I surprised myself by how much I actually enjoyed it. So yeah, if you love weddings and you really like British humour, then I think you'll like this. Next up we have Christmas at Redbobom Cottage by Sue Roberts. I've never read a Sue Roberts before, but this book is such a lovely, sweet little book. This is about a woman called Sarah who's just about to turn 40. She is a divorcee, she works at cinema. Her and her ex-husband share a teenage daughter together, and it is a book set around Christmas time, where her first crush, who when they were much younger, because her crush was her best friend's older brother, they moved to America, and so she hasn't seen them for years and years and years, and suddenly, poof, he's back there in the village, and she's like, what? It's one of these books that is so just cute and sweet and happy and twee and just nice. Remind me a little bit of the feeling that I get when I read Libby Page, that type of book where I feel like I think everyone could read this and get some sort of enjoyment out of it. I have to say, I loved how much Christmas there was in this book. Now obviously this is a Christmas book, but sometimes you can read like a Christmas book, but it doesn't necessarily feel like a Christmas book. Like, it's not, you know, it's mentioned for a bit and then it just suddenly disappears. This book, there's so much Christmas in it. We go Christmas shopping, we go to Christmas fairs, we go and we're talking decorations and we're talking Christmas traditions, we're going to church and all these types of things, as well as like seeing Christmas Day. And it was quite interesting actually, because how they celebrate Christmas Day is quite similar to how we celebrate it. So we don't do presents in the morning. We might do one or two, but that's it. You kind of wait until lunch. Then you watch the, well, in this it's the Queen's speech, which was quite interesting actually, because this book I think came out in 2022. But of course, Christmas of 2022, we had the King on the throne. Didn't have a Queen. Yeah, 2022. So just a little publishing thing that is, isn't it? So yeah, we're the same. We watch the monarch's speech, and then after that we do presents and stuff, and then games or TV or whatever, very chilled. And yeah, it was nice to see. And it's just one of these books where it's just a nice like romance running throughout, a little bit of light comedy, just really nice twee. I think everyone will really enjoy it. I might let my mum borrow this actually. I think my mum would probably quite enjoy it as well. But yeah, it's one of these books that I think come Christmas every year or so, pick up, enjoy, and yeah, I've never read a Sue Roberts before, but yeah, highly recommend. I really enjoyed this one. Next up we have The Education of Ivy Edwards by Hannah Tovey. This is my first Hannah Tovey novel. And this is about a woman called Ivy Edwards, who's in her very early 30s, and when we very first meet her, like in the literally first couple of pages, we are kind of introduced to her life. So she lives in London. She rents a flat and she rents it with her fiance, and they are in the swing of planning their wedding. She has a job which she doesn't love, but it pays okay. She has a group of friends that surround her. One of her closest friends also happens to be her sister, who is married. She is a lawyer, I think, if I remember rightly. However, they are having some fertility problems. We're trying to conceive a baby. And their family live in South Wales, but the girls live in London. And that is kind of like the very, very first like page or two. After that, all kind of everything lets loose, because Ivy's fiance breaks up with her out of the blue, and we see Ivy go through the physical things of the breakup. Like, so for instance, they share a flat together, so she has to contact the landlord and say, look, I'm on my own now, I need to pay for it on my own, as well as him then moving out and then separating, you know, their belongings, as well as telling people that, you know, the wedding is off, if anyone was, you know, involved in the wedding and stuff. And then as well as the emotional impact of, this is the person that she planned to spend the rest of her life with, and it's not going to happen now. And yeah, essentially that is what this book is about, because she's now on this life of like, well, this isn't going to happen, like, and she starts to question everything in life. It's not just the, like, her relationship that she starts to question. She starts to question like herself, her job, her career, like, who am I? I don't know myself, like, who am I type thing. And that's what this book is about. Now, I will say the synopsis on the back I think makes it sound a little bit happier than what it is, because this book is essentially 300 pages of Ivy in self-destruction mode. She is so down through this novel, quite rightly so, because she, you know, her life that she thought she'd have is now literally being turned upside down, and she's contemplating and questioning everything in life now. But it is a self-destruction of 300 pages. Saying that, I absolutely loved it. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. I thought it was so good. I think it is a bit of a Marmite book. Personally, I loved it for a couple of reasons. One, I loved how it's written. It's written really, really fast-paced, and it's kind of like Ivy's inner monologue. The way that it's written, really fast, almost as if how her brain's working really fast. I loved the humour in it. Bit dark, very silly, but right up my street, and I'm going to read you a little snippet of it as well. But I also loved how this book is structured. I love that we have, like, as I said, 300 pages of this just self-destruction, and any time kind of Ivy goes, right, let's pick myself back up, there's something else to just knock her back down. But I think had it gone on any more, I don't think I would have liked it as much, and same had it been any less. I don't think I would have liked it as much. I think it's just right, so to speak. So let me read you a little snippet of the book, because as I said, I do think it is a bit of a Marmite book. I think you'll either love it or it won't be for you. And I think it's the writing that has kind of quite a lot to do with it, but as I said, I loved it. So this bit that I'm going to read to you, Ivy and her friend have just gone away for a few days, essentially. We spent the day reading the papers, doing puzzles and playing cards. We cooked soup with vegetables from the community garden, and Lucy made us cookies from the leftover pulp in her juicer. To think, only a week ago, I had diarrhoea on the tube. I really enjoyed that. That's the type of humour it is. It's quite, I suppose, dark humour, dark comedy. But the comedy of the book just really like brings it out of itself. Like otherwise I think it would be quite a sad and sombre read, but it's not, because the humour just levels it up. There is another book that follows on from this, which I'm really excited to get to soon, but I just wanted to put this book out there. If you haven't read it, highly recommend it. 4.5 out of 5 stars. Now, do you remember earlier on in this video I said there is more than one Lindsey Kelk book in this review video? Here's the other one. This is Love Story by Lindsey Kelk. This is about a woman called Sophie Taylor, who by day is a primary school teacher, but by night she is Estee Cox. Estee Cox is a pen name, and she is a best-selling romantic comedy romance type author. And no one really knows that Sophie is Estee, other than 2 people. One is her godfather, who's also her publisher, and 2 is her brother, who's also her agent. However, other than that, no one knows, including the rest of her family, who also work in publishing. But she wants to keep it that way. We also have this guy that comes in as well to shake things up and shake up the dynamic. Now, I really loved this book. This book blew my absolute socks off. I feel like this book is just wonderful in so many ways. One, I loved the humour. The more I read of Lindsey Kelk, the funnier I find her work. I don't know why I didn't really find her work that funny initially. Like why I didn't connect humour so much to Lindsey Kelk, but she's so funny and she writes humour so well. My favourite character in this was William, who is her brother, and I want to read you a little snippet of it actually, but the humour of it was just so good. This book wasn't cringy, it wasn't cheesy, it wasn't anything like that, it was just so much fun. So the part that I want to read you is where their father has been having a birthday party in the back garden, and there's been a lot of people there, including Sophie's ex-boyfriend, who, funny enough, is also in publishing. He's an author, although he is rubbish. He stole the idea from Sophie herself. And essentially a massive fight takes place, and the victim is undoubtedly the cake. The cake has absolutely taken an absolute battering. And this is what William says. This is why he's my favourite character, because he just comes out with these such brilliant lines. Performance art at its finest, boomed William. The cake shot to shit, but who fancies a mini milk? I love that. I don't know if you get mini milks in other places other than the UK. I love a mini milk. Anyway, yeah, I just thought it was so funny, and I loved the character, and I loved Sophie, and I just yeah, I just loved this book for what it is. As well as that, because I did give this book 5 stars, I think what this book does so well is this book, I just feel like, is a love letter in itself to books of this genre. Now, I have been reading this genre of books since I was 13, and over the last 20 years I have enjoyed so many books, and they have been such a comfort to me. Whenever I've been feeling a bit lonely, a bit sad or whatever, I've come to this genre. And although, you know, we all go through phases with genres of books where we read highs and lows of them, and sometimes we're reading loads of them and sometimes we're not reading as many, I always come back to this genre. And you know, some of these books are my favourite, and I just feel like this is just a love letter to this genre. I like how in this book we even discuss, like, what do we call this genre? Like, I'm completely with Lindsey Kelk, like, the idea of women's fiction I think is absurd because you don't get men's fiction, so why is it women's fiction? Why pigeonhole? But also I love the fact that this type of book, although it has absolutely just exploded in popularity recently, has been around for hundreds of years. You know, like Jane Austen, for instance. I love that Sophie's favourite book is Bridget Jones's Diary, and there's some quotes in this from Bridget Jones as well, and I think that is just wonderful. And yeah, I loved it because I feel like this genre is very popular now, but as I said, I've been reading it for 20 years and been loving them. And I just feel like now perhaps they are getting the recognition that they deserve. And this book is just an absolute token to that. So 5 stars, read it. I think it's great. It's my favourite Lindsey Kelk that I've ever read now, so I'm going to read that again and again and again. But yeah, wonderful. And last but not least, now the last book was 5 stars, so you can also guess what this book is. Another 5-star book. This is What Does It Feel Like by Sophie Kinsella. So, a little bit of background about me. As I said, I've been reading this genre of books since I was 13. The very first book of this genre that I ever read was The Secret Dream World of a Shopaholic by Sophie Kinsella. Funny enough, I am currently rereading the Shopaholic series. Bear with me, un momento. So I am working my way through the series again. I'm currently on Shopaholic to the Stars. I am here. Yeah, I love the series very much. And the books have meant a lot to me over the last 20 years. And I think sometimes I don't think authors realise the power that they have. Like, how many times over the last 20 years have I picked up The Secret Dream World of a Shopaholic because I've been feeling a bit down, and I know it's a book that can get me out of feeling sad, essentially. And for that I owe Sophie Kinsella so much, / Madeleine Wickham, which is her actual name. Sophie Kinsella is her pen name. But this book is a book that is very special to, I think, a lot of us that really enjoy Sophie's books, because this book is, although fictional, it is also Sophie's most autobiographical book to date. So this book is about a woman called Eve who is a novelist. She's a best-selling novelist. Her books have been made into films, much like Sophie Kinsella's. She is married, like Sophie Kinsella. She has 5 children, like Sophie Kinsella. Are you getting the idea? And then one day Eve wakes up in a hospital being told that you have just had an operation to remove a tumour from your brain. And that is what happened to Sophie Kinsella / Madeleine Wickham. Sophie / Maddie got diagnosed with a very rare type of brain cancer in 2022, which is when this book is set. And yes, as I said, although this book is fictional, it is essentially based off of Sophie / Maddie's actual life. Now, going into this, I didn't really know what to expect, because it's quite a sad, it's not quite, it is a sad topic. It's harrowing and emotional, but I have to say this book was absolutely spectacular. It was raw and honest, and yes, it is sad, of course it's sad, but it was also has this absolute Sophie Kinsella, just complete out of the blue humour, and it just wonderful. There were so many times that I was reading this and I just had a little giggle or I had a little smile on my face because I found parts of it funny. Even though that the subject matter is actually really sad, it was a funny read. I pre-ordered this book because I wanted to support one of my favourite authors, and I thought, what is the best way that I can do that? Pre-order. I also pre-ordered a signed copy, so my edition is signed. I wanted to get a signed one because I just thought this is her most autobiographical work, so I just wanted to get myself a signed edition, and yeah, I absolutely loved it. I gave it 5 stars because I don't know how you can rate this. How do you rate this? You know, it's a book that I think I'll turn to again and again, and whenever you feel a little bit down, there's always the light, always. And yeah, absolutely spectacular. Can't rate it enough. So there we have it. Those are some recent rom-com funny fiction books that I have been reading recently. Let me know if you've read any of these, and if so, what you thought of them. Let me know if any of these are on your wish list. So thank you so much for watching this video. Take care, and I shall see you soon for the next one. Bye for now.